Today we're talking about this one, number 28, The Experiment. This is another ghost-written one, and it's our third Axe narration. There he is, there, and he's morphing into a cow. Lovely. Right. I like the front cover, first off. I do like it, even though, as we'll find out later in the book, he momentarily morphs the cow. He spends more time as a bull than a cow, but who cares? I still like the cover, whatever. This one was ghostwritten by Amy Garvey. First ghostwritten book by her. I believe there are a couple more. And we'll see how good of a job she does. We start this book with Axe in his scoop. The first time I believe we see his scoop, which is, it's almost like a tent, but with a hemispherical roof thing. But it's small enough that it can fold away. And it's got a few little personal items inside, which I love the photo of the cinnamon bun. I love that. I love that. And I love the fact that Amy Garvey runs with the cinnamon bun meme, as it seems to be. I think that's how it would be described these days. But yeah, photo of a cinnamon bun. Love it. Straight in with that. He's watching a lot of TV. And as we'll go through this book, there are so many TV references, and Axe does like little impersonations of what's going on the TV. His favourite show is The Break, these commercials, that sort of thing. And I think it's wonderful. I think one of the things that Amy Garvey gets really right in this one, which is often hit and miss in Animorphs, is the humour. I think she hits the nail on the head with the humour. It's quite a chuckle, this book. It really is. Especially the Axe moments. Does that add up to a good plot? No, but it's nice to have on the side. So I'm happy with that. Parked there. That's in the bank. Good humour, right? Cool. We're straight into the plot after chapter 1. Marco and Axe are walking around doing human things. I'm not sure why they're out. I think they were going to go find something irrelevant. But they meet up with Eric. Yes, once again, Eric, our chi friend, is back. 4th book in a row, so it's been a string of chi-related books, which I'm not unhappy about. But, right, so I've always had this thing about the chi, of them being a bit dodgy, right? So Eric brings them into a truck that he's disguised as. Keep this in mind. Eric can disguise himself as a truck. A very convincing truck, okay? And Marco and Axe walk in, and Eric tells them about the next Yerk plan, or the current Yerk plan, the one that's been going on. Funnily enough, the one that's literally ending pretty much now. So he talks about a meat packing plant and a laboratory where they do animal testing. So the Yerks purchased these two things about a year ago, right? And the Chi have only just found out about this, which, with all their powers, maybe I was expecting to be a bit more on top of things, but, you know, circumstantial things here, there and everywhere. Maybe they have only just learnt about this. So Marco is concerned that they're trying to poison the food supply, and oh no, my Mackie D's, right? So that's what's happening there. So they come back, the animals gather together, and they say, right, we should really, you know, do a reconnaissance mission, find out what's going on here. Cool, right? So they go first to the animal testing laboratory, and they find out that this thing is surrounded by one of these Yerk force field things. It's quite a small building, and Axe talks about how it takes an exponential amount of power to increase the size of this force field, but it's small enough that they've got this force field around this place. Barbed wire, fences. They see only one possible entrance, really, and that is that there's a truck that comes through to a security hut. I believe that's what they call them, little security hut with a guard. The guard will check the little clipboard, and he will wave them on through, and there'll be animals in the back of this truck, and they go in, and the animals want to find out, okay, so why do the Yerks want this? Why are they going in here? So they devise a plan of how to get into the facility. And it's an abomination of a plan, but when has it not been, okay? Let's be honest. Their plan is to get inside this truck. Now, when they were doing this reconnaissance of the laboratory, they found out that there were chimps in the back of this, because Tobias flew around and overheard the guards mentioning chimpanzees. So we can be pretty certain that there are chimps in the back of this rather than some other species of monkey. So what they do, they find out where this truck is coming from, where it's going, and they intercept it while it's on its way to this scientific laboratory, this animal testing laboratory. Go down as seagulls, land on top of this truck, right? In the middle of fucking broad daylight. You can imagine there's probably buildings all around. Remember, it's America, so you're more likely in a city to find fucking up than sideways when it comes to buildings. You're probably going to have at least a few buildings that are a minimum of 2 stories tall. But never mind that. That would get in the way of the plot, so just fucking wipe that from your minds. Every building is a single story, and the windows are all fucking 1 metre off the ground, okay? So nobody sees the top of this truck, if the plan were to be successful. So let's just run with that. They land on top of this truck and then demorph. Slipping and sliding on top of this truck, fucking truck surfing. And they come to a tunnel, and that's where they've decided to get into the back of this vehicle. So they're humans. Axe is, of course, Andalite, and he's slipping and sliding everywhere. He hasn't got the greatest strength. But what they do, and I really like this part. I really like this part because throughout all these books, whenever the Animorphs are doing a mission, they tend to be in some animal form. And this is the first time, from what I remember, this is probably the first time where a major part of this mission requires them to just be humans. It doesn't happen that often, and I've read it, I thought, I like that. So what they're doing, they're creating a human chain on top of this truck and lowering Cassie, because she's apparently the lightest, down to open the back of this truck, and swings herself inside, and they all one by one lower each other into the back of this truck. What a fucking plan this is. Firstly, #Keygate. There was a few of those at the start of the series, but it's all quieting down a bit. Right, so this truck has it's just open. The back door of this thing is open, filled with, you'd assume, scientific equipment and scientific laboratory specimens, chimps, right? So they haven't locked the back of this lorry. Considering as well that these are yerks and there are animals in the back and there are Andalite bandits around who could potentially, just possibly, get into the back of this truck. You'd think to put a fucking lock on it. But no, these are yerks, and a lock could just get away in the way of the plot. So just wipe it from your minds. It's gone. What lock? Locks don't exist. Right, so this plot makes much more sense now. And then they're in this, there's 6 chimpanzees. A very lucky number considering there's also 6 of them. How convenient. And funnily enough, the key to open all of those is just there. Just there. Now, I would understand this. I would understand the key just being there to unlock all these cages if they put a fucking lock on the lorry. Or the truck, whatever you want to call it. What the fuck? So, it's parked at a traffic stop, right? And some nutter just comes along, thinks, oh, what can I steal from this truck today? Oh, open the door. Oh, look, chimps, it's a shame I can't. Oh, actually, there's a key. I'll just unlock these. Out they go. Have they no fucking security? Maybe people were just really lax about security back in these days. But then again, it's only, what, 20 years ago? Can't be that lax, can it? So yeah, #Keygate. Just to help the plot, these little conveniences will plod along the way, okay? It also brings to attention, how the fuck is the truck driver not noticing any of this? It doesn't specify how big this truck is. It could be like a 16-wheeler, or it could be like one of those little vans that just hang around. It's never really explained. But how does this truck driver not notice that any of this is going on? Surely you'd hear the back doors opening up. It tends to be pretty loud. And you might get the vibrations. No. driver's just fucking unaware, as far as we're concerned. And then another great bit, and I love how Amy Garvey's done this. But we've, a couple of times in the last few books, the book's been self-aware enough, and I believe more than deliberately so, to point out Cassie's hypocritical nature. It's been done several times, and don't get me, I don't dislike Cassie for it. In fact, I think this flaw makes her such a good character. I really like Cassie because of this knowledge and the book and the character's knowledge that she is a moral hypocrite. And page 48, Axe asks regarding the chimpanzees, is it self-aware? Was it improper to acquire it? She said nothing, as though she had not heard me. Then she turned her dark chimpanzee eyes toward me. Could it have given permission, do you think? Is it capable? She asked rhetorically. Firstly, we're going to pause at this point and say, once again, Cassie is just changing, she's shifting the goalposts. We've had this before. I believe it was, I can't remember how long ago it was, I'm not sure if this was the precise moment, but she thought it was okay to acquire humans. I believe this was book 21, when they were in the big banquet hall. And she acquired the human. She said, oh, it's okay because it's a controller. And I thought, so this whole thing about not acquiring sentient creatures, that's now discarded for convenience sake for you, Cassie, is it? And now we've got another case here where her new way of looking at it is not, is this a sentient creature? It is, can it have given permission? Okay, by that logic, Cassie, find somebody who's a mute. Somebody who doesn't talk. Can you acquire them now? What about somebody who's unconscious or in a vegetative state? Cassie is now, according to this new line of reasoning, Cassie is happy to acquire that person, okie dokie, because they cannot give permission. Cassie, you fucking hypocrite. All right? And I love it because Marco comes back. Axe says, no, I doubt that I could have understood the question. But you have not answered my question, Cassie. Is this creature self-aware? Cassie said nothing, and Marco laughed a thought-speak laugh. You don't get it, Axe. See, Cassie's on her own private mission here. She wants to save the chimps. So her usual moralising doesn't apply. It was a harsh thing to say, but Cassie made no answer. A silence fills the room, Marco said sardonically. Animal lovers, typical. They care more about animals than they do about humans. If we're doing this for some other reason, we'd have Cassie giving us a bunch of crap about not using self-aware creatures. But she's thinking she can maybe save some chimpanzees, so hey, it's for the sake of the animals. Yeah, Marco, spot on, mate. Harsh words, and you can be a bit of a dick, let's be honest. Remember David, how much of a dick you were there. You're not being as much of a dick here, but Cassie would have been fucking seething, wouldn't she? But yeah, once again, Marco is basically saying, yeah, Cassie's just a hypocrite. Just why would you pay attention to anything she says? Why would you care if she thinks this is self-aware? Because she just changes her mind on a whim. And all the characters acknowledge this. Remember Cassie at the start of the book series? I said she was a Mary Sue, where she was this perfect little person who said all the right things, made all the right friends, and everybody loved her. Well, now Cassie is an extremely flawed person to the point where the other animals are just casually chastising her for it in any given situation. And I think it's beautiful. A beautiful bit of character development for Cassie again. Love it. By the way, the next book's going to be Cassie, and I'm looking forward to that one. But let's move on with this one. They managed to get into this facility as chimpanzees because they got into the cages and the other chimpanzees were let out into the street. Once again, the truck driver is completely unawares. Completely. Deary, deary. And they get in and they're put into these little cages in this animal testing laboratory. And they're all load of other chimpanzees in there. And then, surprise, surprise, guess who fucking turns up? It's VISSER 3! Wonderful! And he comes in and he sort of walks around and looks at these chimpanzees, just casually looking at these chimpanzees. And then the Animorphs, because Cassie's demorphed at this point, because she's going to be the one to open the cages, but VISSER comes in at the wrong moment. She's quickly trying to morph back to chimpanzee, or I believe it was back to chimpanzee. And they always think, right, distraction, let's throw shite at him. And they'll start launching feces at VISSER. And VISSER is like, "Brr, how dare you?" And destroy them all, because we're done with them. That's right. So VISSER is in this facility to close it down. The question springs to my mind is, why is he just walking around looking at the chimpanzees? Right? Why? Why are you there, VISSER? If your intention was already to close this place down, why the fuck are you there? Why? It's like, Christ, what's it like? It's like you have a car and it's the day when the car is going to the scrapyard to be crushed down to a little cube. And you're looking at the windows and you're thinking, oh, I could do with a good clean. Why? Wasted effort. What are you doing? Why are you micromanaging? Why are you micromanaging VISSER? Why are you here? If your intention is to close the place and the fucking deal is done, there's nothing there for you, why the fuck are you there? You're supposed to be the leader of the fucking Earth, mate. Your Earth invasion, sorry. Why were you going to change your mind? Did you go into this place thinking, oh, I might like these chimpanzees, therefore we'll keep this completely irrelevant operation going? Oh no, wait, these chimpanzees look a bit dodge, so we'll just close it down and feed them to the Taxons. What? VISSER should be on his fucking blade ship doing his fucking job. Why do you think this Earth invasion is going so shite? Why are they such a bunch of melters? Because VISSER micromanages. He's here, there and everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if you go on the blade ship and you go into the bloody sewage works and there he is with a fucking shovel. Oh, these fucking pricks can't do the job right, I'm going to fucking do it. Do your fucking job. You're the leader. The leaders delegate people to do these tasks, to allow the leader to do leaderly things like lead. Do your fucking job, mate. So VISSER decides that because these chimps look a bit dodge, he's going to close the facility and says, just feed them all to the Taxons. Feed them all to the Taxons. And he saunters off. And the animals are starting to panic, thinking, oh, the Taxons are going to come in. What are we going to do? Let's escape. But then I believe it's Cassie who says, no, we need to save the chimpanzees. Which, you know, you can complain, oh, you know, priorities, Cassie. But I appreciate it. I appreciate that sentiment, and I think there was a good chance of them doing both things at the same time. Jake has a little moment where he's like, I thought I was the one supposed to be making these decisions, and I think to myself, yeah, that's right, Jake. You should be the one to make these decisions. Why are you letting Cassie take over? You know how much of a fucking liability she can be. You make the decision. You make the call. If you agree with her, you take that idea. That's what they taught us in leadership. If one of your subordinates gives you a good idea, you make it your own. Because you're the leader. You're the one, the focal point. You can acknowledge that they've given it to you, but then it becomes your idea and you set the standard. You're the one that says, this is what we're going to do. Rather than just, oh, listen to what this person says. No, listen to what I say. Jake, you're failing your job, mate. You're like VISSER. Not as bad, of course. There's this little bit in here that I thought was interesting to point out. They decide to stay in chimp morph and use various tools in this facility to attack the Taxons because, you know, Taxons are a wet fucking paper bag. You could stab it with a spoon and it'd explode. So they decide that they can take this fight on. And Axe says, Taxons are cruel but not strong. Perhaps they would have been able to attack and kill disunited, essentially peaceful chimpanzees. But what they faced were not chimpanzees. They faced chimpanzees animated by the will of their more intelligent and much more violent cousins, Homo sapiens. Wrong, Axe. Chimpanzees are extremely violent. For fuck's sake, why do I not turn my frickin' phone off? I heard something recently, I can't remember where, but Chimpanzees, for example, if he thought humans were xenophobic, you ain't seen nothing yet. Chimpanzee males will circle their territory. They'll just circle around it. And if they find any other male that's not part of their territory, they will literally rip them to shreds. These are not friendly, peaceful animals. They can be tamed into friendly, peaceful animals, much like your friendly neighbourhood pooch. But chimpanzees are incredibly violent. So no, Axe, these are not peaceful animals. They will tear you to fucking shreds, mate. But that's regardless. So with the Animorphs in the knowledge now that this testing facility is now done for, and that there's now a phase 2 or 3, I believe it's phase 2 of this plan that VISSER 3 has, they decide that the next step will be to go to the meat processing plant. Awesome, so they're back in Cassie's barn, and there's something really rather, what I found quite hilarious. Something that seems to happen quite a lot. And it happens more than you'd think. And it also happens more than you'd think reasonable. Right, picture yourself in Cassie's barn. Picture all the times we've been in Cassie's barn and Cassie has been doing some activity in the background. What does she do more than anything else? Page 77. A goose began making loud, distressed noises as Cassie attempted to force a pill into its mouth. So I read this and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, where have I seen this before? Same book, page 17. Poison the food supply, Cassie suggested, as she forced medicine down the throat of a goose. And do you know what? I'm pretty certain it's happened in other books as well, where Cassie, at every given opportunity in this barn, is just forcing pills into this goose. Poor little fucker. There must be more pill than goose at this point. I just thought it was a funny little observation that more often than not, Cassie is feeding pills to a goose. It's twice in this book, and I'm certain, I am absolutely 100% certain that it's happened several other times in other books as well. But I never thought of it back then. It's only when I got to this book that I thought, hang on a minute. She's certainly got something in for this goose, I tell you. Right, so the animals come up with a new plan, and they're going to go in as steer, male cows with their balls cut off, essentially. Let's just leave it at that. And they go out at night, drop like a little stapler gun which attaches ear tags, those yellow things, to the animals. And Tobias and Axe are to acquire the animal, and the others will sneak in as flies deep inside their nostrils, because as we know from earlier in this book, there are Gleet biofilters at the entrance to this big facility. By the way, this facility, they also did a bit of a reconnaissance on that. Found out the facility is too big for these big, massive force field things. But these Gleet biofilters are at the entrances, which means only certain species can enter, or certain races. That being, specifically mentioned, human and cow. Those are the two that are apparently allowed in this building. Keep note of that. In fact, no, let's just do it now, right? So apparently, we find out later on that there are a load of Hork-Bajir in this building. The Gleet biofilter, according to this book, at this point in the book, says there are only two things allowed in, human and cow. I imagine they probably bring the Hork-Bajir in with all the systems off and then turn them on. Potentially. But you get some Hork-Bajir going out for a cigarette and he's just going to get fucking vaporised as soon as he steps out the door. But that's assuming that they're smokers. Maybe. Maybe they smoke bits of bark. Lovely jubbly. Calms them down after a hard day of forcing people's heads under slime water. So they've gone to this field at the dead of night to pick up these cow morphs. Now, this all seems a bit unnecessary, and it gets even more unnecessary because there's this bit where a bunch of drunk lads, you know, a bunch of party lads coming out to do some cow tipping. And they get close to Axe because he's demorphed and he's pretending to be a cow. And they look at this thing and say, that's not a fucking cow. And Axe whips them and they fall over And that's the scene. Why? Why was this little scene here completely irrelevant? Nothing to do with anything. It felt like, the way it was written, that it was trying to add a bit of tension, but there was no tension in this scene. Because we knew ages ago that these were fucking fumbling, bumbling, drunk people. There's no tension in this. It's not consequential either. Nothing happens from this, and it feels like a bit of a waste of pages. But anyway, they come back the next day just before the truck arrives to pick up the steer. And they encounter a bit of a problem, the Animorphs, because when Axe and Tobias morph the steer, it turns out that having your balls cut off isn't a genetic thing. So they morph into bulls, and they start getting all tetchy at each other like your typical bulls do. And there's a bit of a problem. They say, okay, so they're probably going to notice this. Something is going to go a bit awry with this. So they decide, let's just skip part of this plan where we just follow along pretending nothing's happening. Let's drive the fucking truck ourselves. So these controllers come along with their truck. Marco knocks them out with the help of Axe charging them as a bull. So Marco just fucking, those symbols, does that with the heads of these controllers, knocks them out, and they steal their clothes. And they don those clothes. Marco puts on the clothes as the gorilla, and he's going to drive, apparently. Not a great idea. Jake's excuse is, oh, he's got experience. Yeah, his experience. What's his experience landed him? It's like, okay, so I've got a hockey team, and I've got one more position to fill. And I think, oh, I could have this guy who's never played hockey before, or I could have this guy who last time he played fucking knocked an old granny's head off with a swing. I might go for the guy who's never done it before. I know, just saying. But yeah, Marco, as a gorilla, is tasked to drive this thing. And they head off, and Marco's driving is terrible. But again, it's quite an enjoyable scene. Nice bit of humour. Well done, Amy. Love it. They get to this place. The controllers at the facility are like, what the fuck is all this about then? But they let them in. Marco apparently slightly demorphs in order to be able to speak, which it seems incredibly risky because, as we've learned throughout this, with the possible exception of Cassie, they can't control how they morph. So he could have demorphed, and the last thing that could have changed was his ability to speak. Just play along, I suppose. They get into this facility, and then probably the worst part of the book, page 110, okay? All right, we're there, Marco announced. So they've just arrived. They've just stopped. The truck has just stopped. There's 2 paragraphs, so these cows are going to be looking forward to a nice, easy death after this ride. Rachel said, Tobias, sneeze and blow Rachel a couple hundred meters. I saw a large man jump down off the platform and come running around the front of the truck. He was yelling, where did you learn how to drive, you moron? I'm going to kick. Hey, where's the driver? We've morphed to flies, Prince Jake informed us, coming back around. Wow, this is TV show levels of speed morphing. TV show levels. Because we've established that Marco partially demorphed so he could speak to the guy at the security hut, and then he remorphs, so he's fully gorilla, and then he drives the truck up to the thing, stops it, says, right, we're there. There's a quick exchange of words, which can't amount to more than 10 seconds at a maximum. And then some guy comes running around the truck, banging on the door, and, hey, what the fuck's going on? Oh, where are you gone? And they've morphed fly that quickly. Now, a single morph is supposed to take 2 minutes. That is nowhere near 2 minutes. Not only that, but we've established that Marco, as he's driving this truck, is in gorilla morph. He would have to demorph and then morph back to fly. 2 morph cycles. At a minimum, you're looking at 3 minutes there. When the way this is written, it's about 10 seconds. Speed morphing. Don't do it, kids. It's just poor writing. So anyway, they get into this facility. Axe and Tobias go through this GLEEP biofilter. They're going down a chute for these cows, so they have to go forward. They got no other choice. Bloody dust everywhere. They get through these GLEEP biofilters with the animals deep inside their nostrils, because apparently the GLEEP biofilters can't sense that, I suppose. And then they come into this facility, and shock horror, in a slaughterhouse, these animals are being slaughtered. But I imagine the way they were thinking, oh, we're going to walk in and there's going to be a lovely little pen and we're going to sit there for an hour before we get led down to this slaughter place. No, they walk in the door and bang, they're dead, essentially. But there's a bit of a queue, so they've got a bit of time. Axe and Tobias start to panic, so they start to morph as quickly as possible. And Axe is next up into this thing, which presses him in, and they've got what's used as, it's like a cylindrical gun thing that into the brain, instant death for these animals. Which is good, you know. I prefer that these animals that end up on our plates are killed instantaneously rather than put through this excruciating torture. But that's, you know, that's completely irrelevant to not only this video but this channel. Turns out the flies in the nostril have flown out, and once again we get speed morphing because Rachel turns up as a grizzly bear just at the right moment to knock out the controller who's going to put the cylindrical gun to Axe's head. Knocks him out, so Axe is now saved. He charges forward and he finishes demorphing, and Tobias does as well. So a load of the humans leave. They are assumed to be not controllers, which is strange. And a bunch of others start attacking with things like chainsaws and what have you. And the animals quickly deal with them. But then suddenly there are Hork-Bajir everywhere. In this facility where apparently there are non-controllers, suddenly there's just an army of fucking Hork-Bajir walking around. Like, what the fuck's going on here then? Hello, what's all this? Because they're police Bajir now. So the animals are, I mean, they don't engage in much fighting. They basically just hit away anybody who gets in the way, and they go for an exit, which is just this big door. And funnily enough, micromanagement VISSER 3 shows up again. He's just there. He's just there micromanaging again. I've already had this rant, VISSER 3. We don't need another one. But he's there and he's cackling. Haha, I have you. I shall twiddle my moustache most voraciously. And then, guess what? Hashtag Keygate. Axe just hits the top off this bloody keypad that opens this door, puts a couple of wires together, and then, oh look, the door, it suddenly opens. Open sesame! So yeah, hashtag Keygate once again. But they get through there, and apparently none of these Hork-Bajir were just sort of standing watching them from about 20 metres away thinking, do we attack? They've just opened the door. Just give them a few seconds to close it and then we'll attack. How does that sound? We'll get them then. We'll get them. So they close this door and then they come into what is essentially a specimen keeping area, and there's these humans in biostasis, which Axe immediately recognises. How he immediately recognises it, we can only assume because he knows biostasis and has experience with them. Can only imagine. I mean, it's not as if he didn't pay attention in school at all. And then also there's a Yerk computer just sitting there, and Axe speaks to it in thought speak, and apparently thought speech activates it. Yes, that's right, because the Yerks have such a great use for thought speech that they've designed their computers to be compatible with thought speak, the very language that only their enemy is capable of using. What the fuck? What is this? Right, okay, so you've got your I don't know, your fucking Hillary Clinton, and you've got this laptop full of emails that will send you to fucking prison if anyone sets eyes on them. Right? What do you do for a password? We'll do a fingerprint one. But I won't put my fingerprint as the password. No, I'll put fucking Vladimir Putin's fingerprint as the password. What? Vladimir Putin is going, oh, what is this? Why am I, that's French. Vladimir Putin's French, by the way. What is this? It is the passcode. What is it? Oh, it's my finger. Why would they do it? I don't know. Why have they done this? You could say, oh, VISSER 3 uses fork speak. Yeah, so, again, VISSER 3 is micromanaging to the point where these scientists can't access their computer systems without him being there. Please, somebody explain to me how the fuck these aliens can fucking tie their shoelaces, let alone invade a planet. I just can't get over how fucking stupid that is. I can't. In no way does it make sense. Anyway, this computer starts. What does it say again? It replied in a simulated human voice. Project Obedience is the brilliant insight of our great and glorious leader, VISSER 3, hero of the Taxan Rebellion, Scud, the Andalite fleet, conqueror of Earth. And I thought of something when I read that. Great and glorious leader. And I thought, I think I know who inspired VISSER 3. I think it's Kim Jong-il, you know. And being serious now, I think a large part of Kim Jong-il's character is VISSER 3, where everyone has to call him the great and glorious leader, the conqueror of this, that and the other, fucking plays a perfect round of golf, fucking all this. But not only like these comparisons, but that he dispatches his underlings in very imaginative ways. And we all know the stories, I assume we all know the stories of Kim Jong-il and later on, of course, Kim Jong-un, just doing these weird things to kill off their underlings who fail them. That's exactly what VISSER 3 does. I'm pretty sure there have been times where the Kims have set rabid dogs on people that they don't like. It's like VISSER 3 with Taxans, isn't it? Let the Taxans loose on them. Who else thinks this? This sort of insular, secretive nation with this leader at the top who just fucking terrorises his own people, and they all just fucking beg at his fucking, you are the greatest, you are the leader of us, and we shall bow forever. It's Kim Jong-il. Can you imagine him singing that song, if you ever seen Team America? I'm so ornery. Voice broke there. Make the video play it instead.
I'm so ornery, so ornery, so ornery and sad alone.
But anyway, VISSER 3 and these Hawkbajir are fucking having a picnic in the other room. They don't care about the Andalites anymore. They can't even open their own fucking doors. They're just behind it, hitting it. Why won't this fucking thing open? Has anybody got the fucking key? I don't know. And what did they do last time? They just put those two wires together. Think it will work this time? Who fuck knows? Let's just keep knocking. And there's a scientist that turns up at the other end of this place where the Animorphs are. They're saying, we need to, you know, get these humans out. Because there's this whole thing, there are little details in there where it says, free will extinguished, or something like that. This treatment 71 or something like that has been used on these humans, and now they are devoid of free will. And fucking Cassie, has this moment where she's like, but you can't take free will away from people. That's just not possible. Free will is something everyone has. You can't get rid of it. And you'd think, you know, for this book series should fucking put her in her place in some way or another. It should be like, you know, Cassie, you're fucking wrong. Stop moralising this shit. Bad things happen. But no, she's right, apparently, then, in the end. Because the scientist controller comes up and he's shaking. He's like, VISSER 3 is going to kill me because we're just lying that this has happened. We're just doing it so he won't kill us, even though we know he'll kill us if we do it. So why the he's just going to kill us anyway, whether we do it or not. And no, you can't erase people's free will, because every sentient creature has free will, and it can't be touched. It can't be there. Turns out free will is a consequence of brain activity. So if you're able to control brain activity, you could eliminate someone's free will. But no, that's not explained in this book. It's just Cassie's free will is never extinguishable. And yeah, that's how it ends, really. The scientist helps them escape. They release these humans who apparently still have their free will, and they leave. And that's the end of the book. Axe has a cinnamon bun in them all, and that's it. That's the book. Fuck me. This book was such a laugh. I said at the start, I really appreciate the humour. And it's a funny book. It's probably one of the funnier ones so far. Sometimes deliberately, sometimes not. But yeah, it's... Not only that, but Amy Garvey's writing style is very good. You can tell it's her writing style because she has specific words that she uses at some certain points that we haven't seen so far in Animorphs before. She's got a certain way of putting some things across, and she's got quite a distinctive way of writing, and I think it works really well. I really appreciated the writing style. But not only that, the biggest plus for Amy Garvey in this one is she got the characters fucking spot on. Spot on throughout this book. The characters, I bought into them. The interactions were great. The stuff between Marco and Cassie, brilliant, and stuff we've seen before. She's expanded upon that. This book is filler. This is pure and this is one of the first in a while that I can safely call filler. The previous one that I could call 100% filler is probably The Underground, book 17, which was an awful book. But this one isn't awful. I like this one. I really do like this one. For all its flaws and all its really silly moments that don't make sense, it's an enjoyable read. It really is. There's one more thing we need to address. The chi. Well, I couldn't get through to the end of this video without coming up with my crazy conspiracy theory that the chi are some weird double agents who are just trying to play both sides and have a bit of a laugh. They just want to laugh at everything. Okay, how did the Animorphs find out about this? Well, Eric was there. Eric told them, oh, a year ago this happened. Turns out he told the Animorphs the day before this animal testing lab was being shut down. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that, Eric, that the time you find out about this thing, without any additional information about what the fuck is going on in this place, it turns out to be the day before this thing is all closing down, and VISSER is going to feed all the chimpanzees to the Taxons. Could be coincidence, I don't know. Also turns out to be the time where phase 2 of this thing is beginning, and VISSER is at this fucking meatpacking facility. It's all very convenient timing, isn't it, Eric? Right? And before you say, oh, it's just coincidence, it's just coincidence. He did not know anything about these two facilities. What was he disguised as when he pulled Marco and Axe over? He was a fucking truck, wasn't he? He disguised himself, funnily enough, as a truck. What was used to get into both of these facilities? Trucks. Do you think that's a coincidence as well? Oh, I don't know anything about these facilities. How could I possibly know anything about these? You can disguise yourself as a fucking truck, which is able to get into those facilities, and you would be able to find out exactly what was going on in there. Not a fucking problem. Don't give me that bullshit that they couldn't do it. If he can disguise himself as a truck, he could sidle on up to that guard hut, fucking have a clipboard. You know, he can hologram that. He's been able to hologram this sort of shit before. He can hologram the guy holding up the clipboard. The security guard will be like, go ahead. And he will go in and he will have free reign of the facility to find out exactly what was going on. But why didn't he do it, you might ask? Oh, funnily enough, I only just found out yesterday. I'm going to send you Animorphs in to find out what to do. I'm going to send you in to risk your fucking lives doing something that I could do in my fucking 5 minutes lunch break. Fuck you, Eric. It's done. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. I'm calling this fucking canon. The Chi are up to some shit. It's the only explanation for the stuff that's been going on these last few books and further back. That Eric could easily have found out what these plants were doing, these laboratories and meatpacking plants. He could easily, with his powers, gotten into those facilities and within 5 minutes found out exactly what was going on without any sort of violence. So he didn't have to do that. He could just walk in and do it. Did he? Did he fuck? He went up to the Animorphs and said, well, I don't know what's in there. You go. The day before the chimpanzees were going to be eaten by the Taxons. And VISSER 3 was going to be there. Very, very funny. Where have we seen Eric and VISSER 3 meeting like this before? Where it's just such a coincidence that Eric sends the Animorphs into the very place that VISSER 3 is. Remember book 20/21? Oh, there's going to be a big banquet on this day, Saturday or wherever, or whenever. And the Animorphs toddle on in, and there's VISSER 3. The meeting is actually tomorrow. Well, Eric could have just been mistaken, and he could have just sent the Animorphs in on the day that turns out VISSER 3 was there. It's all becoming a bit suspicious now, isn't it? Fucking Chi. It's no longer a conspiracy theory to me. This is fucking canon. I'm being serious. I think the Chi are this weird sort of skeeving bunch in the background doing this weird shit. And all they want to do is fuck around with both sides. And just constantly throw them into battle with each other. And a fucking clap in the background, you know, disguised as a tree. Just thinking, oh, who's going to win this time? Oh, I'm convinced of it. I am fucking convinced of it. Because there's too much suspicious shit going on. Too many times I've looked at the Chi and thought, hold on, that's not right. That's not logical. And there's all these coincidences. This is a video for another day, okay? We're going to, at the end of this series, we're going to compile all of the Chi's funny going on and we're going to come to a proper conclusion. But this has done nothing to get rid of my little conspiracy theory. Nothing. Anyway, this book. Jake as a leader, right? Because I've got to get on the scores, haven't I? Jake as a leader did very little. He came up with the plan, which was a bit of a hodgepodge plan. And they got very lucky, thanks to #Keygate, that they managed to get anything done at all. He let Cassie just decide what the team was doing without stamping his authority. He gets a 4 for this one. Shit plans that he had to rely on luck to get himself out of, and not stamping his authority as perhaps he should. So 4 for Jake. The book itself, I'm happy giving it an 8. A solid 8, you know, it was silly at times, it was unreasonable at times, illogical at times. But god damn it, Amy Garvey, fantastic writer. Fantastic writer. Really well written book. Characters were spot on. The humour was great. There's nothing wrong with the writing in this book at all. And it was just a fun little adventure. I really enjoyed it. Nothing spectacular, but it's better than good. Solid 8 out of 10. Well done book. Round of applause, please. Right, next book in the series is going to be number 29, The Sickness. And I'm sure we won't be feeling sick after this one. We'll probably be feeling quite overjoyed because I do look forward to Cassie's books these days. And I believe this is one of the better ones as well. If you like Animorphs fan fiction, I've got my own fan fiction series. This is book 56, The Deal. I plan to get more books printed off at some point as well. If you like Animorphs discussions, please join the Animorphs Discord. We have great amounts of fun over there talking about pizza and... yeah, we have a great time discussing all the best things. All the best things. This has been the Animorphs YouTube channel. I hope you tune in next week for the next review and all the little bits in between as well. So, thank you very much for watching and I shall see you next time. Ta-ra.